Hello, hello, and welcome. This is the So You're an Author podcast where I interview indie authors and we yap about their books. I'm your host, Darius, and today's guest is S.F Henne. Born and raised in Adelaide, South Australia, Sarah swapped beaches for the ski slopes of Whistler, BC, and started her adventure. Now residing in Washington State with her husband and daughter, she embarked on the next part of her story, telling the tales that have been rattling around in her head for years. I want to thank Sarah for joining me today. How are you doing?
Pretty good for early in the morning.
Oh, is it early? Oh, yeah, it is early in the morning down there.
Not
down
really.
There, over there, left, right. Which direction are you again?
West.
West, yes. In the west over there, it is a few hours earlier. It is what, like 10?
Yeah. That's early for me.
Yeah. Trust me, I get it. I totally get it. So I know I just read us a little intro, but why don't you go ahead and tell me a little bit more about yourself?
Sure thing. So I have been an author from, 2023. Before then, I was a pharmacy technician. I was a Starbucks manager. I was a hostess, a server. I've done just about everything and obviously lived in 3 different countries. So it's been an interesting life. I'll give you a fun fact talking about traveling the world. I actually met my husband, who lives in Washington, while I was in Canada through playing World of Warcraft. So that's my little fun fact.
You guys met on World of Warcraft?
I'll give you the better part of it. So my sister, myself, and my best friend started playing it. The very first character my sister interacted with is now her husband, who's also an American.
No.
And it was because of him.
Cool.
We went into a guild, and eventually I met my now husband. And it was very weird because we're like, this is weird. I've never seen you, but I think I like you. So it's a fun little meet cute.
That. So one of my other authors met their husband on DeviantArt, and then I met my fiance on Discord. We got roped into the same Discord group from a. We were both writers on a website called Royal Road, which does a lot of like lit RPG, serial novels and stuff like that. So we had actually kind of sort of crossed paths in their forums, and then we got invited to both join the same Discord server, and it was like completely over. So I love that. I love that so much. That is so great. I love it. And he's my fiance's British. He's from the UK. So
wow.
I kind of had the same, like, I don't really, like, I've heard your voice and like we chat all the time, and like, yeah, I mean, eventually we did like swap pictures and everything, but even before that I was like, oh, I think I like you.
Right.
Okay. Right. I love that. Those stories always just get me in like the best way.
I traveled halfway around the world thinking I'd meet a Canadian and met an American instead.
I mean, yep. So I just, because I have to ask, because I'm curious, like, when you guys met in person, did he fly out there, or did you fly over here, there?
Well, luckily, because I was living in Vancouver, BC, I took a bus down. I messaged him and I'm like, hey, I have like 3 days off. Do you want to meet in Seattle? Because he lives out in central Washington. And so he drove over there. I took the bus down. It was the most nerve-wracking thing ever. Thankfully, I recognized him when I saw him walking towards the bus.
That is so great.
We just clicked right away. Even there was no awkwardness besides the initial fear. But yeah, it was meant to be, I guess.
I love it so much. When people talk about meet cutes, this is what I mean. Like, I'm such a sucker for like an online meet cute romance. Guys, if you have any book recommendations about that, maybe hit me up somewhere. I'll, by the way, just so everybody, all the listeners know, all of our socials, mine and Sarah's, will be down in the description of this episode, anywhere you may listen. So please make sure you hit both of us up with anything and everything. So you said that you've been an author since 2023, if I'm remembering that correctly, because my brain is still like, you haven't had enough caffeine today. So is being an author something that you always wanted to be? Did you write before 2023? Like, what kind of got you into writing?
Well, I sure tried to write, and I was terrible at it. I'm sure there's other writers and authors out there who are like, you have these great story ideas, but you never actually write. I would I'd write descriptions of what would happen, just like overviews, but I would never actually write. And that was my biggest thing to get over. But so go back into the ancient history. 2005, I believe it was when I first kind of got the idea, oh, I could like write stories. It wasn't like I want to become an author or anything yet, but it was like, oh yeah, because my sister and I were watching Battlestar Galactic. I still remember that was that show, and there was the romance in there, which we were both just like, oh, why are you getting with your dead fiance's brother? This is weird. And my sister and I are just like, we could write better stories than this. And it was just kind of that weird offhand thing. And then I think my sister saw it in a magazine. It was like back when like Harlequin used to do like open calls. I'm like,
Oh
we could go
yeah.
and write a romance book. And yeah, that didn't work out very well. But it was since then that I started to have these ideas. So I still have my epic sci-fi, like kind of Star Wars-esque story that one day maybe I'll write, but that was way too I always bite off more than I can chew with stories. So it was like this huge space opera, and I could never write that back in the day. So it was like grew like that, and then I had other ideas. And then it wasn't until 2023 I started to get serious into writing. But mine was more dumb luck that I ended up actually finishing, because that was the other thing. I've never been able to finish a book. I started writing an epic fantasy, and I got like at 75,000 words, and then I'm just like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, this is just blah. I didn't like it at all.
Yeah. I am the queen of coming up with all these really cool ideas, writing about 10K words of it, and then being like, okay, I'm done. Which is why I have yet to publish anything.
Yes, getting that very first draft done was the hardest thing. And the only reason I did it was dumb luck. Like I said, I found this publishing derby, which was these guys put it on. They would give you you would get allotted a cover and a title, and then you had to write a story that went with it. And that's all it was. It was just to kind of break the ice, to get that story written, to publish, and kind of get over that hurdle. And so I got my cover, which I absolutely adored. And originally, because I think their word limit was like minimum was like 10,000 words. And I was like, I'm gonna write I can't remember what I started off with. Maybe a novella was my first idea, and it turned into an 80,000 word story. And I hadn't even finished writing it, and I already had an idea for a 7-book series, which is the books that I'm publishing right now.
I love that. I saw so Threads is kind of where I live.
Yes.
And so I saw I saw on Threads there, and somebody was doing one of those like, that 10K novel was gonna be the best 40K blah blah blah, and turned into 80K thing you've ever written in your life.
Yup.
And that seems to be the process of how it goes for a lot of people. Is like, they're like, oh, I'm just gonna write a novella, and then the next thing you know, you have a 7-book series planned. I have a series like that I will eventually write. It started off as on Royal Road, of course. It started off as their version of National Novel Writing Month. And they're like, you have to write 55,000 words in 55 days or whatever it was, or something like that. And I was like, oh, I can totally do that. Did I do it? No. I think I got like 15K in, and I was like, okay, so this I've lost my momentum on that. That's totally fine. But I loved the idea so much that it spawned a 4-book series that I will write. It's a science fantasy. But like, so I completely and totally understand that.
Yes.
I relate to that so hard.
Yeah, it was without the hard deadlines for this competition in quotes. I don't think I ever would have done it. It was like I needed that, and because I knew that if I didn't finish my story, I would lose the cover, and I didn't want to lose the cover because I'm like, no, this is my story. So that was the only reason that I kept going, was that fear, which is why when I publish a book, that day I will put up the pre-order for the next one, because it's like then I have a deadline, and then I have a terrifying deadline that I have to do. So
yeah, I think I need to give myself deadlines, because that's how I finished. So I have one first full draft finished, Mark of the Seraph, and I finished it because I told myself I was going to write the 60. I was going to finish at 60K, 60 or 65K before New Year's at the beginning of this year, and I literally wrote the end at like 11:58 p.m. on New Year's Eve.
That's dedication.
Yeah, so I wrote that book in 3 months. And that was after like putting it off, and finally I was like, you know what, I'm gonna write this. The original goal was to finish it before my 36th birthday, which was in February, but I was like, you know what, I'm gonna push that up even further, and I'm gonna finish this before New Year's. And I did, and now it is sitting waiting to be edited, which I will eventually get to. Yeah, right. And we'll come back to editing in a second, but tell us a little bit about the book that you were wanting to talk about, which was The Last Lunar Witch.
Yes. So this, again, I'm terrible at everything. It started off, I was like, I'm gonna write a cozy fantasy, and then there was like kidnapping and like demons and stuff, and I'm like, I don't think this is cozy anymore. And I realized, and that was a good thing, is like you realize stuff about yourself, is that I need action, I need excitement, I need high stakes, and those while I can occasionally read a cozy fantasy, I need those high stakes in my stories. So this started out, my original spark of the idea was that I had this witch called Nyssa. This is a secondary world because I don't like setting things in real places. So witches are a race. And she comes to the big city, and she's like trying to make her life here, couldn't pay rent, all very relatable things. And then she sees a job wanted sign for this cafe, and she goes in, and they're like, oh cool, you can bake, go in there and make us something. And she accidentally makes these like magical cookies which taste amazing. And that was all it was originally. It was just going to be her story. And then it was like, oh, okay, no, let's make it so like she has issues with her magic, and then she gets a familiar in there, and kidnappings start to happen, and she has to go solve all these problems. So it kind of like greatly expanded. It's so different from the very first draft of this story. But in a line, it's about, so Nyssa is a witch who has broken magic. She is also an alchemist. And so as much as she wants to save her magic, because alchemy is magic in this world, but her fire magic, which is what all witches have, can go out of control. Through this story, it's probably not a spoiler as it's called The Last Lunar Witch. She figures out that she actually has lunar magic as well as solar magic, and that's what's been her problem. So this story is going through her figuring it out. There's obviously people who want to use the Last Lunar Witch for her powers. And so it's her discovering what's going on with that, trying to stop these bad people from doing bad things. And then the one bit, as one of my fans told me, is the real MVP of the story is Danica, who is my character's fox familiar, who she can talk to telepathically. And she was a late addition because I realized that my character didn't have anyone to talk to. And so everything was in her head. And so I was like, well, what if I give her someone to talk to? What if I give her a familiar? And so it's this lovely bond between them, as well as a whole bunch of friendships as well. But found family is like my favorite trope. You can never go wrong with it.
I do love found family. I love all of that. I have foxes and rabbits my thing. I have a fox tattoo, half sleeve, on my forearm, and I'm getting a rabbit on the other side of it. So like as soon as you said fox familiar, I was like, oh, okay, I know what I'm reading.
I wanted to be something different, like, I mean, because I know I took witches, which is something in our world, but I was like, why don't we make it something more interesting than a cat? Like, let's make it, and I don't know where I got fox from, but it was just like, and then I like started like watching all these videos about foxes, and they're so freaking adorable. It's like if you took a cat and a dog and like put them together.
Oh yeah.
They're the cutest.
What did some of the people always say that they're dog hardware with cat software. And so like that's I mean that's honestly the best way to explain them. And they're strangely enough they're domesticating themselves. So are raccoons. But like yeah, I love fox familiars in fantasy novels. I think they're so much fun. There's a booktuber that I watch called Reads with Rachel, and she also loves fox familiars. Yeah. So like as soon as you said that, I was like, oh, that would be cool for her to read too.
I think I saw her Threads post about that, and I was like, wow, there's a lot of books with foxes. This is fantastic. I have so many books to read.
Oh yeah, and we people who love fox familiars, like we eat that up. I eat that up all day long. I love it. I think it's so much fun. So you kind of talked about a few things with the last Lunar Witch, but what was something I actually, before we ask that question, I always have to ask, because you sound a lot like me, so I might know the answer, but so our listeners know, are you a plotter or a pantser?
I was originally a pantser, and I learned that is not how I do things. That's not how my brain works. So now I call myself a plantser because it's both. I need the good outline structure. So I need to know the major plot points, kind of what goes on in between, before I start writing. Like my whole series is planned. I have a basic outline for the rest of the series. And then I will pants the scenes. I'll have a general idea. Usually the first 25% is easy for me because I know how things are going to flow. So I have to have that. And then usually when I start to get stuck, I'll go back and kind of plot out the chapters that I'm missing. But I did try once in a course I was doing, we did this basic outline, which was like, great, love doing that. And then they're like, okay, now we want you to outline every chapter. And that was hell for me. What? It sucked all of the fun out of it. So it's like, I'm the in-between.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely trying to teach myself to be more of a plantser, because I get it. Like I said, I get basic ideas and then I write for a little while and I'm like, okay, I don't know where I want this to go anymore. That is something that I think also helped me finish Mark of the Seraph, was that I did actually plot out like where I actually wanted it to go.
Yes.
But sometimes I'm just like, oh, well, I know I'm supposed to get the characters to point B, but they want to go side quest for 700 pages before we get to plot. Like you have to like rein the little gremlins in and be like, okay, guys, listen, I know this is what you want to do, but we're going to go do this instead. And then you have no inspiration for 6 months and you have to wait for it to come back because they're striking and they're mad at you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But okay, cool. I love that. I figured that might have been your answer because you and I seem kind of similar in how we think about things and stuff. So I was like, I bet. It's like, I bet I know what this answer is going to be. What is something that you have liked or disliked about the process of writing The Last Lunar Witch?
I mean, I love everything and I hate everything. Like, so I'm currently writing book 4 and it's like, I'm like, oh, I just can't wait till I'm editing. And I'm like, I know when I'm editing, I'm going to be wanting the next step and the next step. It's whatever I'm not doing, I want to be doing. But I do love, I mean, going back to book 1, I do love kind of that world creation exploration.
Yeah.
Because I have some ideas of the world, and I actually went and had a world building book coach that I worked with to kind of plan out everything, which I was very happy I did, to help me plan out like the races, how things worked, the whole world, magic. And that was great to have, and I think I needed that help with it. Um, but it's just kind of discovering things along the way and like, oh, what if like this race is like this actually? And how could I make this a little bit more unique? And just kind of throwing random things in there. So like the thing that was not planned at all. So Nyssa does go get a job at Divine Coffee, which is the coffee shop. And turns out it's actually sentient. It's a sentient building.
Nice.
And that was just something that I don't even know where that idea came from. It was just like, yeah, why not? Oh yeah, and it has grumpy ovens who can be territorial in the morning. And just like throwing in random things like that. Like this is why I love fantasy. It's why I love writing second worlds, because I can just do whatever I want. And I'll be like, hey, what about this? Just see what works with the story. That kind of exploration is so much fun. And that's why I do pants my chapters, because I'm like, I have an idea of what's going to happen in this chapter, especially like with character interactions. I'm like, I don't really know what these characters are going to do until they start talking to me in this scene. And I'm like, you know what? I think they're going to go do this. And I'm like, I never would have planned for that, but that's what happened.
I love the idea of sentient ovens in the morning that are like, I ain't doing nothing. That is another thing I love. Like you said, I also love it too about fantasy and second worlds and stuff like that. Is like you could just have fun with it. I think I made a thread the other day and I was like, hey, would it be weird if I put real life plants in my fantasy world? And people were like,
that.
Did you see that one?
Yes.
I was like, is that weird? And everybody's like, Tolkien did it. Why can't you do it? And I'm like, I didn't even think about the potatoes. Okay. I was thinking about, am I going to have to make a plant codex for this whole thing? And I'm like, you know what? It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
That's where it can get exhausting, because it's like, that's why I'm like, okay, this is a modern urban setting, but it's not our world. But I'm still going to call it your phone. I don't call it cell phone because as an Australian, we don't call them cell phones. We call them mobile phones. So I'll just call it a phone. I'm still going to call them cars, like things like I'm still going to call it coffee, because I'm like, I think I even threw Earl Grey in there, even though that's technically our world. But it was like things like that. I'm like, we don't need to take the time to explain that this is their version of a cell phone, because that's not important to the story. But then like when Nyssa bakes, I'll throw in random like starberries, or I can't remember the other ones I just randomly make up. But it's like those, I'll like throw some interesting ones in there, or like the plants she uses in alchemy. I'll make up some names. I'm not going to remember them, but when it's like, yeah, that's still a tree, I'm not going to give it another name.
Yeah. Now that you've mentioned that, I think I do remember seeing your reply to that, because you were saying that. I was like, oh, I did reply. But yeah, so like that was my whole thing with that. I was like, I don't want to make up a whole codex of plants for plant magic. It's just plant, guys. It's just she's basically Persephone without being an actual goddess. Okay, like that's just kind of how I'm working it, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, but so I love that. I love that fantasy lets us do things like that. So what is something that you kind of like disliked about the process? Or something you maybe like struggled with while you were writing?
Oh, lots of things. I mean, if we go to the basics, I hate spelling.
Spelling is the worst.
I hate grammar. I hate like all of those things. Like I can remember, like I'll say something like, "Oh, how do you spell that?" to my husband. He's like, "Aren't you a rat?" I'm like, "That's not what I do." Like,
listen,
I do the higher level stuff.
Just because I write the books doesn't mean I know how to spell. Do you know how much heavy lifting my spell checker does? Like, do you know how many red lines are in this thing, and not just for the fantasy words?
Yep. So like basic level things like that. There was a lot of things which I think I'm improving now that I've writing more. And I think that's one of my general advice to everyone is always just like keep going, because you will be improving so much. So dialogue was another thing, especially in book one, I found really hard, and I didn't have as much in there as I should. Like now I have scenes which are a lot longer, a lot more back and forth, because I just feel like I'm more comfortable with it. But I think like in book one I felt it was very forced. Like, what are these people going to say to each other? I don't know.
Yeah, dialogue is so tricky, and that actually, as you were saying that, I like threw my hands up because I remembered what I wanted to ask a second ago, and I forgot. Hello, ADHD. So you're on book 4 now. Have you, and you just kind of mentioned that you've noticed you've gotten better with dialogue. As you've written each book though, have you noticed your writing getting stronger or different, or just has it overall improved the more you've written through the series?
Oh, 100%. Like, I think every time you write, every time that you finish a draft, you will start to improve and learn. Because so book 1, I wrote for the competition, and then it went to betas, and I didn't like how the story had turned out. And I realized this isn't my story. I rewrote the whole thing. And that was terrifying, but totally worth it. And so now, like, looking at book 4, I'm like, I definitely feel that I'm a lot stronger. I can write more details. I'm not so rushed. I think in book 1 I felt super rushed to make things fast paced in my mind. And now I'm like, no, I'm going to go over 2,000 words, which is another thing I didn't want to do. I'm going to write a 3,000 word chapter where it's literally my two love interests just like hanging out and chatting with each other and thinking about things. And so I'm like, it's needed. I see this in stories. It's just for some reason I had this fear that these people can't have as much of these interactions with each other.
Yeah. But no, I always like to ask that because again, I've only completed one draft. But I've been watching my fiance rewrite like the first book that he wrote in his series, and his writing is so much better. So like, and I've always just wanted to ask an author who's done a big long series, like kind of like you have, like how much you've improved. If you could go back and rewrite the first book, would you, or do you kind of like how it is and showing your growth over time with the continuation of the series?
I think it is like a temptation, but at the same time, I don't think I would. I've definitely gone back and tweaked a couple of things. Sometimes it's just like formatting things I've gone back and tweaked because I realized, oh, hey, I've got buried dialogue here. That's not something I should be doing. And little things like that. But yeah, I think it's probably a temptation with all published authors are like, oh, I could go back and I could fix that. And I'm like, is it worth it? Is really the thing that I'm just like, I'm not sure. I did have my big update with it when I went from the book that was published in the Derby to having it professional, because you couldn't edit anything professionally with the Derby. So I went and got a professional editor, and that was a lot stronger from that. But I'm just like, I have so many other things that I want to be writing that I think it would be better just to move on. But maybe one day I'll redo book 1. I don't think I'd do any of the other books, but maybe. I'd have to have free time, which is never going to happen.
Right? Nobody has free time anymore. I think something that I really love, I've noticed it mostly with indie authors who go trad, is they will like add in extra scenes, or they'll do like this or that or the other. I think if you ever rewrite it, you should do it as a special edition.
Yeah,
because that would just be so cool. Like one of my favorite authors, Rachel Rada, who wrote These Godly Lies and These Immortal Truths. Her original duology was Peaches and Honey. It was called something different. But when she got trad picked up, she added in some extra scenes. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Because I love the original. I love the indie versions. So like the fact that we're getting a little bit extra in the trad like makes me super excited. And I love when authors do that. When they go back and they're like, hey, so like I kind of rewrote things and there's some more stuff in it. You should go read it. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, definitely. I'm like, I'll be sold.
Let me go pick it up right now. Did you redo the cover and stuff too? Is it pretty? I'm a sucker for pretty covers. I'm not like a huge sucker for sprayed edges. I like simple sprayed edges, but I would totally buy a special edition of a rewrite of a first novel with sprayed edges, just saying. Yeah. So you know. But so let's talk about editing for a minute, because you are an editor as well as an author. Kind of what got you, let's pivot just a little bit. What got you into wanting to be an editor as well as an author?
So unsurprisingly kind of came hand in hand.
Yeah.
So back when I was writing my epic fantasy, I luckily again stumbled upon these two fantasy writing groups who unfortunately don't do anything anymore, but they were super helpful. And so I would um like do critiques for people, um and I started getting people like, you give really good feedback, like I really appreciate that, I totally understood what you were talking about. um and then one of the gals who also writes urban fantasy, I did her like it was a beta read but a bit more in depth for her
Mhm.
first book. And then when she was coming out with her second book, she was like, hey, I'd like you to do this again. Like, I know you have a young kid. Like, I'm happy to pay like $100 for you to like go through this again because I really want you to do it. And I was like, no, 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 you don't need to pay me. Like, you're my friend, kind of thing. And then I think a couple of months later, another one that I worked with, she writes romance. And she was like, hey, I'd really like you to do this. And she offered me money as well. And
Yeah.
I was like, okay. And then it just started to something in the back of my mind, and I'm like, oh, okay, like maybe I give good feedback. Randomly, I don't remember how. Maybe I was watching like a podcast or something. Maybe it was a podcast. It was with Author Accelerator. Jenny Nash goes on a lot of podcasts talking about it.
Mhm.
And it sounded really interesting. So they pretty much take and train people to become book coaches and developmental editors or whatever you like to do. Usually you have some kind of idea. So I went through them, absolutely loved doing the course, loved learning about a lot of that. And I found a lot of it I already knew from my own studying about character arcs and story structure and all that. And so I knew, like, when I was doing this, oh yeah, I'm 100% going to become a developmental editor. That's what I'm going to focus on. And so it was just that I just had this knack for being able to figure out what the problem is with the overall story and articulate it in a way that my readers could my clients could understand.
Hell yeah. Because honest, that's kind of how I've stumbled into it a little bit too. Was just, people are like, hey, I'm in a couple of writers groups, and they're like, hey, can you look over my stuff? And I'm like, yeah. And then the next thing I know, they've got a 3-page, dev edit of whatever, and
Right.
they're like, oh wait, that actually makes sense. And I'm like, okay. I don't have any formal training. I'm actually looking into getting some more formal training. But so again, I kind of stumbled into it kind of the same way you did, where people are like, I love your feedback. Can I give you money for this? And I'm like, you want to give me money for this?
Yeah, right.
So I that's fantastic. I absolutely love that. So as an editor and an indie author, what is something that you kind of see, or like what's maybe some advice for people who are doing more self edits? Because again, I know us editors can be kind of expensive for some people. And I am, as any listeners who've listened to other episodes will know that I'm very much against people using AI for editing or anything like that, because it does, as much as you don't want people, not you, as much as the royal you doesn't want to admit, AI does kind of steal your voice when it's editing. And then you're just like, why does this sound like, those AI Reddit posts that I see on TikTok all of a sudden? So like, what are some maybe tips or tricks for an indie author who might be doing some self-editing from a developmental editor?
Right. Yeah, this is something that I like to talk about on. I have two now because one of my TikToks got throttled. For my book coaching and editing, I love making videos talking about it. I think when you're going into a developmental edit, you do need to understand how to structure your edit, which people are always like, what? Don't you just start reading it? I'm like, no. I'm like, my first advice is always, once you finish your draft, to put it down and put it away for at least a week. Some people are like, I want to start now. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
no, you need to put it down. You need to let your brain reset, yourself recharge, and you'll start to like think of new things. You'll find it. So just put it away for a bit. And then it is this is the most terrifying one, read the whole thing from start to finish without editing. because you need to have your whole story in order, especially if you're like me and write out of order, in order in your head. Now you can jot down notes. So usually I say like have a notepad, have somewhere you're typing, or you can put comments on your document if you want. But start to write down the things you're noticing. You're like, nah, this isn't quite right. And then once you get to the end, you're going to start thinking about what we at Author Accelerator call big picture issues. So you always want to start with the most fundamental things that are going to take
Mhm.
the longest to change. Because there's no point going and messing with paragraph 1 in chapter 1 if you end up getting rid of chapter 1 because you started your story too early. So it's like don't waste your time. And so you're going to be looking at things like, are my POVs correct? Sometimes you have the wrong main character, which would be absolutely terrifying to have. You want to, does like the plot actually make sense?
Mhm.
Are things flowing in a logical fashion? Things like this. They're the things you want to start with. So you start with these really big issues that are going to take the longest time. Maybe you have to move scenes around, do that. And then you'll start to go down to the next issues, which will be like chapter level things, and then down and down and down until you're working on typos. I will mess with my typos because I hate the red squiggly lines. That's okay, but it's not getting fixated on like I don't like this line. So if you don't like a line, highlight it, get back to it later, but make sure you're focusing on the big picture. Because sometimes you have to scrap your 80,000 word book and write it all again.
Yeah, I I noticed that with my first draft of Mark of the Seraph. I was like, oh, I don't like this. So like
Yeah.
I've been like rewriting big chunks of it and everything else. And like my favorite thing to do is I throw it into I have the writing program I use is called Write, and it has like a drafting and editing phase and stuff like that. So like I'll just highlight a big portion of something and then I'll be like, please come back to this later and make this make sense, because what were you even thinking when you wrote this?
Oh yeah, I have lots of those notes too. Like, I don't know where this is going.
And then some of my favorite things from the first draft is like I just have parentheses and it says creepy plant monster name, or just parentheses, come up with a name for this guy later because you can't fixate on this for 4 hours, like close parentheses.
Oh yeah.
So I I like talking to you about this stuff because I feel like I don't ever get to talk about this kind of stuff with people, as you know, as somebody else who's kind of getting into this and everything.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun. In terms of book coaching, because you did bring that up, what is something that an indie author or any kind of author really should kind of look at when they're choosing a book coach or even an editor to work with? Like, what are some things that you
Yeah.
think people should kind of look out for? Because again, in this day and age, there's a lot of scammers out there who I've seen so many stories of people being like, I just lost out on $4,000 on a dev edit and they ran it through AI or did nothing or blah, blah, blah. So what are some things to look out for or to ask questions about?
Yeah, it is hard with the amount of people that just resort to AI. I've been in that. I had people who would meant to be giving me beta feedback, and I'm like, this is all AI. You didn't read my book, because it's like it says a correction here. It's like your line says this, and I'm like, my line did not say that because that line sounds terrible, and I know I
Right.
didn't write that.
You're like, look, I may not be, you know, the best writer, but I definitely did not write that.
And yeah, it was just bland. So it's definitely hard to know, but that's why I'm always like, go and ask other people, go and look around, see what you can find out about people. Some people like myself, I will offer they're called discovery calls. I really hate that name, but it's just kind of like a chance for us to chat, to get to know each other, because for me the most important thing is that the client is choosing me because they think that we would work together well. And I've
Hmm.
definitely told a potential client, I'm like, I don't think I'm the right person for you. I don't think that I'm going to be able to help with the story, the specific story. And I'm like, I think that you might be able to find someone better. If you think that it's me, that's great. But I want you to go out. I want you to find the best editor for you. So yeah, definitely like getting on there, chatting with them, seeing if you can find testimonials or if you can even reach out to those people. But it's hard. Like I had an editor that I used for my first book, and I didn't feel like they did enough for what it was worth. I went and found
Mhm.
a second editor through Reedsy, who was a lot more expensive, and I ended up using them for 2 books, but then, we just had issues, um, not with what they were producing, but they were like, unfortunately, I give them my books in summer because that's when it's ready, and, like, the last both times, they were heavily delayed, which puts everything behind, and I have other editors
Mhm.
lined up. And then they were like, "Well, you should have given me a better draft, and you had like some basic like typos and stuff." I'm like, "What does that matter for a dev edit?" I'm like, I don't care if I have issues in there. That's not what you should be looking at. You're looking
I
at my
wish you could see
story."
the face that I just made when you said that. Like, I was just like, "What?"
Yeah. So,
Like, oh my goodness. Oh
but
my
yeah,
goodness.
so that's why I'm now like, go talk to other people if you have author friends, see who they like if they've worked with them, because it is a big money commitment. And so I've moved to someone else who was recommended to me by an author I know, and I'll be using them for this book and my other series that will be coming out later. And it's hard because you're just like, I just hope this is going to go well, but make sure you read the contracts would be another thing.
Oh, yeah.
um because I mean, it's a lot when you read the contracts, but now I have my own contracts, I kind of understand a bit more. But definitely look, see if there's anything that maybe sends off red flags, like, oh, I have to pay in full for a dev edit. Maybe that's a red flag for you. If you have issues with money, like, just talk to them, see how flexible they are, if they just want the money up front. There's a lot of different
Mhm.
things. Like, I won't start work on a dev edit until I do get paid in full, but it's like you give me a deposit and then you can pay it off. But it's hard to know because everyone's so different.
Yeah, I when I do mine, like with my current client, I did a deposit up front, and then when they gave me the document to start doing my dev edits and stuff, I was like, okay, now we take the other part of the payment. Or there was also like the option to do like a payment plan as I'm doing the dev edits,
Mhm.
because again, the economy is god awful right now. You
Yeah.
know, but speaking of Reedsy, I saw the other day somebody, I don't remember who it was, and even if I did, I'm not out here to blast people again. This is not a snark podcast, but like I saw somebody pay like 4,000 something dollars for a dev edit on Reedsy that they paid off in a payment plan, and then they were like, I don't even think it was worth it. And
That's crazy.
I was like, what is Reedsy out here charging people for these editors? I've never looked into them. I don't use their software or their anything like that. My IRL best friend is writing her books all in Reedsy, but like I don't
Mhm.
touch it. So like what was that process kind of like, since you've done that, and you can kind of maybe give somebody who's interested in Reedsy kind of like a insider knowledge on how that kind of works?
Yeah, so I spent a lot of time looking through dev editors, looking for ones that specialize in fantasy. Because I'm really not. I mean, this is personal bias. I'm not fans of ones who like work every genre. And I'm like,
Mhm.
if you work sci-fi and fantasy, great. If you have maybe another one on, that's fine. But so I just looked through, try to find them. There's actually a sneaky way where you can copy their name and search it, and then it will show you their full name, and then you can just look for their actual website.
Yeah.
Which you probably shouldn't do, but that's how I kind of got around. Because I'm like, I want to know the rates before I reach out. I really don't
Yeah.
like that you can't see the rates. But I think I messaged like 4 people in the end, and they will give you a quote on their stuff, and then you just pick. But yeah, I know you do pay like a 10%. But yeah, $4,000 for, unless you wrote like a massive book. Because my book was what? Somewhere around 100,000 words, and I was paying, I think, like 2,600 for mine, which I consider
Mhm.
expensive.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's, unless there was something else like a line edit in there thrown in there, it's a
I
little concerning for
I
me.
I have no idea. I was just like, that is so much money, because as much as all of us want to be the next, Sarah J. Maas or Holly Black or Stephen King or whoever, where like all of a sudden like we publish, or Brandon Sanderson, like we publish a novel and then all of a sudden, oh hey, look, we're making six figures. Like a lot of us will never reach that point.
Yeah.
So I was just, especially on a debut novel, but like I was just like, that's a lot of money for a debut to like shell out to yourself. And I see indie authors talking about it all the time. They're like self-publishing is expensive.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it is, but you do get to keep the rights for everything, and you don't have to deal. I don't know if they're anything like me, but my rejection sensitivity is like, we're not querying. We're just going to write some books, and if somebody wants to pick us up, that's cool.
Yeah.
I do not have the don't get me wrong, I take constructive criticism well, but I do not take rejection well.
Yeah.
It takes me 3 to 5 business weeks to recover from. But that's cool. I mean, that's it's good to know that you can have that secret hack in Reedsy, because honestly, I'd probably rather get something through the actual person themselves than go through a service.
Yeah.
Speaking of that though, your books, where can our listeners find them?
So I am in Kindle Unlimited currently, because that's where most of my reads come from. So I am on Amazon. If you are someone who likes paperbacks, I definitely recommend not getting them from Amazon. I sell them on my own website, but I would also recommend checking out bookshop.org to support local indie bookshops, because they are fantastic. But that's probably the best way. But yeah, for right now, my ebooks are only on Amazon until maybe a bit later. And then I'm hoping to swap to Yearn. If you guys haven't heard about Yearn, you should go check that out.
I have not. I was just about to ask you about that, because I have not heard of that one.
If you like romance and fantasy, now they're not straight like fantasy romance or romantasy. There are some which have less. But Yearn came out, I think like a couple months ago. The reason that I really like them, so they're a $10 subscription, unlimited, but it's ebooks and audiobooks, which is what gets me. I am an audiobook girly. I don't have time to actually read. Like, I need to be doing dishes and listening to something. So I signed up just for a trial. I didn't continue it because I don't have enough time writing book 4. But yeah, there's a bunch on there. So it's obviously only indies. And they also, for any indies that are interested, they also are very competitively priced. So I can't remember the exact payouts, but they do treat indie authors well. They're not like Amazon, like Audible, where they take like this huge cut. So I would definitely recommend going and checking them out. They do vet authors. So they don't have any of the AI books on there, as far as I know, at least. So they go through, they check, make sure that your books kind of fit with their platform, and then they'll put you on there. So
we love a company who vets authors to kind of try to keep the AI people out, instead of doing what some of these other companies have been doing, draft to digital. But okay, I'm gonna have to check that out, because I mean, not only for me potentially publishing something, but also because like I love the idea of them having the ebooks and the audio, because much like you, I do like listening to audiobooks too. And as an audiobook narrator, kind of got to put my feelers out where I can get them.
Yeah. And they do a great job for like searches as well. So you can really refine your search. You can pick your spice level. You can pick which tropes you want. You can, like, I was like looking it up. I'm like, oh yeah, I want a story that's about Valkyries. And so it showed me all the books about Valkyries. And it was pretty cool. Also, if you are interested in signing up, go like search on like Instagram for the authors, because sometimes they have like discount codes, so you can get your first month like half price.
Oh,
so,
nice.
I want to be saving you guys money.
Very nice. Yearn, if you happen to be listening to this, which I don't think you will, you can always offer your girl up a code, and I'll talk about it all day long. Yeah, no, okay. So see, this is why I love talking to people, because I learn so many new things, and I learn about new programs like that and stuff, or new companies like that. And that is one thing that I like I personally don't want to get into the Amazon space. I feel like I'm going to have to for a little bit at least.
Yeah.
So out of curiosity, if I don't know how long your, because I know with Kindle Unlimited, it's like a 90-day um exclusivity deal.
Mhm.
Have you potentially looked at going wide, or do you kind of like being in, other than Yearn, do you kind of like being in the Amazon environment?
Sphere, yeah, I'm not sure what to call it. Oh,
Yeah, sphere
I
environment, whatever it's called.
quick side note, Yearn doesn't make you be exclusive either. Just another way to
Oh,
sell it.
okay.
I'm
See,
not even
okay,
with them. I should be
okay.
with them.
Right, right. You
Um,
need to go. You need to be like, hey guys. So I talked about you for like 15 minutes on this podcast. You should sponsor all of us.
definitely. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Amazon just because of what goes on, but for urban fantasy, that is where a lot of my readers are. And so the majority of my income is from Kindle Unlimited. And that's really the only reason that I'm there. Um, I I didn't want to go wide just because it seemed like so much work, especially now that Drafted Digital is making you pay that extra amount. I mean, it's $12 a month, but
Hmm.
it's like I don't know how. I mean, sorry, $12 for the year, but I'm like I don't know how much that's going to be helpful for me. So it's like, do I want that extra work right now? And the answer is
Yeah.
not particularly. I would rather just stay in Kindle Unlimited, let it go that way. I'm not making enough money to be like, I could go wide and make all this money. So,
Yeah. Um, Another thing about Drafted Digital is they're really good for getting you into Kobo, which is really more popular in Europe. I found people have Kobos and read on Kobo more in European countries. Um, but they also get you into libraries,
yes.
which was my biggest thing. It was like I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like so it shows up on like, I don't know if it's necessarily the Libby app, but they show up in libraries a lot more. But I think there are other places you can do that as well. Again, I've learned so much from just like figuring out like self-publishing stuff about like different companies and different ways you can do your books. And then there's Ingram and there's Book Vault and there's like 75 other programs. It's not just, I keep calling them programs, they're companies,
Yeah.
whatever. Y'all know what I mean. That aren't just Amazon.
Yes.
Um, but
I will also give a shout out to Book Vault. I use them to print. And I mean, any of you guys probably all see the horror stories of people ordering from the Amazon copies,
oh
and I'm
my
like, oh my
goodness.
god. So shout out to Book Vault. If you're a member of Ally, I think there might be some others. They give you a monthly code, so you don't have to pay the title upload fee. So if with that you can upload your title for free, you can make changes whenever you want. You don't have to pay. I can't remember. Ingram just changed theirs. I'm not a fan of Ingram either. So
Yeah, Ingram just changed theirs to where it's like after a certain amount of days or something that it's been up, you have, or like you have to pay to do edits, and I'm just like, but
yeah. So
like
and I
guys, we already pay so much. Why are you bleeding us for more, buddy? We're all broke.
yeah. So BookVault doesn't do any of that. They have really great customer service, which is the other thing. So it's like, I mean, it's not like super fast, but what do you kind of expect? So I mean, I could probably put an order and expect them in about 2 weeks.
That's actually a really good turnaround time, to be
y-
honest with you. 2 weeks is really good.
Yeah, and I've only used them, so I haven't had to deal with Amazon. So I'm just like, it's not like it's like super fast, but you understand like they're printing all these books. They're
Hmm.
but if you have any damage, so I typically get quite a bit of damage, but I think most of it's from the actual printing, cutting process. I will take a photo, I'll email them and say, hey, I had some damage, here it is, and they'll give me credits for those ones so I can get them, or they'll issue a reprint if you want to do that. So I'm really thankful that they're super fast getting back to you there. They're always polite. I never had an issue. So I always shout about Book Vault when I can. So go join Ally, go protect yourself, get your free code, go try out Book Vault. The other great thing about Book Vault, because they were originally based in the UK. If you do special editions, it's UK. They have some other printers around. They just opened one in Australia, so I can actually order a book to go to the Australian printer and send it. I sent mine to my stepmom, um, And so it just goes straight there, so I don't have to pay it. But you can also, like, I got one printed in the UK and sent it to one of my readers in South Africa, rather than
Oh,
having to
heck
try and
yeah.
ship from the US where the shipping is
Yeah.
super expensive. So
Ugh.
yeah,
Shipping over here is expensive for no reason.
terrible, terrible.
Also, when you try to ship things like internationally from over here, they just get lost sometimes, or something happens to it, and then you're like, and then you're just out shipping costs and everything else, and blah blah
Yeah,
blah.
yeah,
But speaking of like Ingram and Amazon, I don't know if you've seen the pictures recently, but like there was somebody who posted a picture of like 50 individually packaged books
yeah,
sitting on their door, like they're sitting on the steps outside their door of the books that they order from Amazon. And I'm like, I was like, who was, honestly, I'm pretty sure that Amazon warehouse worker that day was just like, you know what? I'm gonna take my time doing this. I get paid by the hour, guys, like not by the item I pack. But that's
it's
just
crazy.
It has been crazy. And they're also like the worst when it comes to like getting returns or refunds for damaged books, because like as an author, you can only sell so many damaged copies at a discount so many times before you're just still bleeding money.
Yeah.
Which I actually gladly buy misprints or damaged books from indie authors when I have the funds to do so, because like A, I know it helps you or helps them kind of get some money back, but B, I also don't mind if my books are a little beat up. And I'm staring at my bookshelf as I'm talking to you about this, because 90% of my bookshelf right now is full of old Anne McCaffrey books from like the 60s, 70s, 80s that are all beat to heck because they've been thoroughly loved, and I bought them all from a used bookstore.
Yeah.
I typically shop in used bookstores before I'll shop at like Barnes and Noble or anything like that, because we have a lot of, or I shop at indie bookstores around here before I'll do a bigger store like that. But
Definitely.
yeah, and we've got some really cool ones around here. But yeah, so is there anything that you want to talk about with our listeners, or you want to talk about your books more, or any more tips or tricks, or just kind of whatever
Whatever I want.
Yeah, whatever you want.
I mean, I can talk about everything, but because I know that most of the listeners will be other indies, I will go into a bit of my book coaching mode.
Yes.
So again, like one of the reasons I love to do like my little TikToks is because my book coaching side of my business is about helping authors actually get over the finish line of writing that first draft. So I have a couple of, I call them packages. It doesn't feel like a package, but so there's one where it's like a full workbook for your whole book or series if you end up doing a series. But it takes you through. So even if you only have just like an idea of a story, we'll go through it and we're like, okay, so we're going to talk about the basic overview of the story you want. Then we're going to do a week on world building. We're going to do a week on your protagonist, then your antagonist, and then we're going to actually write an outline. So that's like my real intensive one, because I know this might not work for pantsers, but I always suggest that it's really good idea to start having these ideas and fleshing out, even if it's just like, let's go flesh out the races of this world, because you'll find that you'll get so many different ideas from doing things like that. The other thing that I do, which was one I enjoy, is I've done it with authors who have been working on a first draft and kind of got stuck. I've also done it with authors who had a first draft and were trying to get into revisions. And this is my outline evaluation. And so we'll go through, I have a workbook for it, and we'll go out and we'll write out the basic plot of your book, and we'll actually edit that. And this is why I usually am like advocating for like, do an outline before you write, because it's so much easier to edit 2 pages of outline than 100,000 words.
Oh yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah, so you're looking at it like, does this work? Also making sure that you are focusing on not just the plot but the character arc. I will always scream about, make sure your character arc works. Your plot and your character arc go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
These beats, it's like this moment, like if you're at your point of no return at the end of Act 1, this isn't just a point of no return for the plot. It is a point of no return for the character and who they are in this first scene. So yeah, those are my biggest things. I know I can't really go into much detail. I'll give you my one favorite quick tip. So this is to see if you have enough character growth or change in your book. So if you imagine your main character as they are in chapter 1. Now imagine you pick them up and you drop them into your climax. Do they defeat, well, assuming this is a action story, do they defeat the villain? Do they win the day? If they do, you don't have enough change. Because your character in chapter 1 should not be able to, quote unquote, defeat the climax. They should lose. They have to learn something fundamental to be able to overcome that. So that's always my biggest one, for you to self-reflect and be like, oh yeah, my character hasn't changed. My character hasn't grown enough. They haven't learnt the skills. They haven't become the better person to overcome the climax.
I love that. Like I was literally sitting here thinking, I was like, wait, if you do take my characters from chapter 1 and you drop them into what I'm planning for like the climax of these stories to be, like, would they actually? Some of them are like, maybe, but they would get really hurt doing it, and then other ones I'm like, yeah, no, they would be like one hit KO'd like immediately.
Yeah, it's like you've got to think about like your climax as like it's two things. It's the external plot. It's coming face to face. I always just use an antagonist or the antagonistic force. They're coming face to face with that. Physically, can they overcome it? Do they need to train their powers? But internally, can they face it as well? Do they have what they need? Or if you're doing a negative arc, it's totally different. But it's like, can they deal with it? Can they make the right choice when it comes to the climactic moment from what they've learned throughout the whole story?
Yeah, so I'm gonna need to hire you to help me with some of these. For all of my listeners who may be other indie authors, if you're interested, please hire Sarah, because I've also seen so many people be like, well, I can't figure out these like beats that you've been talking about. So they're like, so I just asked ChatGPT. No, hire Sarah. Let her talk about it to you. Let's yap about it, okay?
I've had clients who've used ChatGPT, and it's like, this outline is so bland.
Yeah, because it's got no soul. It's got no voice. It's all the same, anyway, I could go on for hours about that too. I definitely right. I definitely think that I may steal another one of your couple hours potentially here soon, because I want to do an offshoot of So You're an Author, where we talk more about like the book coaching and the editing and stuff like that, to really highlight you as those things, as well as, like this is kind of a hybrid, but I think I kind of want to do an offshoot where I talk to more people who have I call them jack of all trade skills outside of just writing books. So I might have you back on for that if you're cool with that.
That would be a blast.
Hell yeah. And then we can yap about just this for forever. It's going to be like 4 hours of us just talking about like the different things we've seen here and there and kind of like your services and stuff. So listeners, look out for things like that, because the more I do these interviews, the more I'm finding out that there are some very interesting indie authors out here that have more than just I write books. They have other things they do, and I want to talk to y'all about that too, because I like talking to people. It's fun.
It is.
So before we kind of come to a close on everything, go ahead, if you don't mind, pitch us the last Lunar Witch again, and then we will skedaddle on out of here so we can both get to working on our books that we need to work on.
Of course. Okay, so my last pitch for The Last Lunar Witch. Let's see. Well, this is the very first line of my blurb, and it's always been my favorite, which is a witch without magic is a fate worse than death. So if you love stories that are all about hope, community, this is the whole series: hope, community, found family. There's a very slow burn friends to lovers in there as well. But if you want a story that's going to be uplifting, that there's still danger, there's lots of magic, there's magic and technology working together, then this might be the story for you. Or if you just like foxes, you can read it just for Danica. And there will be a second fox coming up in book 4, so little sneak peek.
Oh, we get 2 foxes. I love it. I'm also a huge fan of mixing magic with tech. Like, it is so much fun. I could yap about my science fantasy series where that kind of happens too, but again, we have yapped about a lot today. But Sarah, thank you so much again for spending all of this time with me today, and kind of, talking and giving some insight to other indie authors who are listening, or maybe even some baby writers who are looking to become authors that may or may not be listening to this podcast. I appreciate all the time you've taken out today, like I've said 8,000 times. And again, for all of my dear listeners out there, S.F Henne is her pen name. Go look her up. Everything will be down in the description below. And thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of So You're an Author. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please don't forget to rate and review SYAA so we can reach even more indie authors and listeners too. Now keep listening for an amazing deal. Congratulations on making it to the end of this episode. If you're an indie author or know one, I'd like to take this time to tell you about the author services that I provide. Other than being a cool as hell podcast host, I am an audiobook narrator. Now, my rates are based on the length of your novel, and I will have a form available on my website for you to fill out if you're interested. I make simple book covers and other character graphics, which are listed on my website in the description below. Beyond those 2 services, I offer what I call Yap and Sip sessions. These are kind of like the podcast you're listening to, just without an audience ever hearing them. We can talk about your plot, characters, or somewhere that you just might be stuck in your manuscript. Call it body doubling with your new bestie, where I'm just here to chill and listen while you work out the kinks, or add some in, to whatever you might be working on with your novel. Everything listed above can be found on my website. Anybody who goes to my website can put the code FOUNDYOURPODCAST, all one word, somewhere in their email or form, and I will give you a discounted rate on any of the services listed above. Once more, I thank you for listening to the So You're an Author podcast. See you next week.